Golfing World travelled to Winnipeg, Manitoba last week and the Pine Ridge course for one of the Canadian Tour's flagship events, the Players' Cup. We took the opportunity to hook up with Commissioner Richard Janes to talk about what's happening with golf in Canada and what's going on at the Tour.
Well, the biggest change that has struck me in recent years is how quick the young players are to develop. You know, there was a point in time where it would take 3 or 4 years before a young player got his wings and really started to perform. But now, coming right out of the gate, we've got rookies who are doing well and obviously are holding their own on the order of merit.
Unlike many of the North American mini-tours, on the Canadian Tour, the players are competing for prize funds provided by sponsors instead of a pot of their own money.
Many young players credit this tour with helping them move on. And if I could be so bold as to take some words from Tim Clark from South Africa, Tim really credited his early days on the Canadian Tour with helping him get to the PGA Tour. And of course, Steve Stricker started here, and this year alone we've got 3 recent alumni who have won, Brendan Steele, D.A. Points, and Nick Watney, who we're all very proud of. So it's a very different experience than a traditional mini tour.
There are other distinguishing features, with Canadian Tour members benefiting from some added incentives.
The world ranking points, it obviously is a very big thing. Our relationship with the other tours around the world as a member of the International Federation, and now with the Olympics coming to the world in 2016, it's not just about developing players that are going to go onto the PGA Tour or the European Tour. Nowadays it's about developing potential Olympians as well. And you can be sure that 5 years out, there's a potential Olympian out here this week, whether he's from Canada or Chile or Argentina.
With over 20 countries represented on the tour, it now boasts a truly international field. And while still proud of its roots, week in, week out, you never know who'll be stealing the headlines.
There's always going to be a changing of the guard. I don't know when the last one really changed, but to date myself, perhaps it was George Knudson and Al Balding to Dan Holderson and Dave Barr, and then of course to Mike Weir and Stephen Ames. Sure, there's a lot of right out here this week. There are some absolutely wonderful young players. Adam Hadwin, who certainly would be in that crowd, is just so well poised. He finished well at the U.S. Open, I believe, 37th.
The playing side may look bright, but what about the changing economic climate? Like all other tours, Canada has had to face some adjustments since the crisis of 2008. It
was actually 2 years later when companies started reeling in their purse strings, because most of the decisions had already been made. So it did have an impact, but the fact of the matter is that the corporate interest in the Canadian Tour has probably never been higher. And again, this is a tour that is safe. It's relatively economical, albeit the Canadian dollar is strong right now. But that's why players come here. It's also a great experience. It's a beautiful country, and we know how to run golf tournaments.
On the PGA Tour alone, Tour graduates have claimed more than 100 tournament victories. There are a handful of major champions among them, and they'll all remember where it started for them, in Canada.